Welcome back to Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day with me, Sulaiman Lede. Now, reactions are trailing the World Bank projection and the concern in what the federal government must do to mitigate the situation and avert the forecast. Public policy analyst and economist Dr. Nnachi Onuoha joins me to discuss what the federal government must do to minimize the case. Good to see you, and many thanks for your time.
How are you?
Well, great. You saw Shubham Chaudhry, the country director of the World Bank.
Yeah.
One key thing there that some Nigerians are getting to know now is well, the World Bank relies on the expertise, local expertise, in this case the NBS, to get its data.
Mm-hmm. At least they really don't have other options, because the NBS is of recent time, since the last man that was there has been so detailed in putting up the numbers, right? And we've seen those numbers come to pass. And if you look at the predictions of the World Bank, it's not far from what is expected. Because based on the two key policies of the government, we expected the effect of that policies to actually kick in. And if you look at those two key issues, the fuel subsidies and the harmonization of the forest, it has effect. One good thing from the harmonization of the forest, we have gotten the boat market, the boat windows to get to that point of equilibrium. So we'll begin to see some other factors that will take it down. But the part that we need to face, which the World Bank is drawing the alarm to us, is if we don't provide a succor, we are virtually on that path of losing the middle class. The middle class will be eroded because more people will move into the poverty lanes, and that becomes very dangerous. And as more people move into that, it means the GDP will also be affected. Our GDP will gradually just drop because of that. Because this poverty, when we talk about it, is we're dealing with the per capita income, the purchasing powers of what we have. When our purchasing powers is being eroded as a result of inflations, as a result of scarcities, and it becomes so obvious. So their predictions are not far from real, because the data will always speak the facts. So,
well, now let's go back to data. This is a big one. 7.1 million Nigerians may enter extreme poverty. That's the warning. So let's start talking about solutions, what the government should do and must do. And again, this also brings us to who the president will be putting as economic team.
Definitely, when you look at the economic indices and the level of poverty index, the populations that are moving into the poverty index and how it grows, you look at it from the real market studies. Let me give you a typical example. As of today, the salary structures of every Nigerian civil workers has not changed. They still have the same income, so that income is fixed. With that fixed income, we now talk about the purchasing power of that income. That purchasing power has been depleted, it has been eroded, so it becomes difficult. So that man that used to earn 30,000 as minimum wage, and he could do ABC with that minimum wage, now can no longer do ABCD. Maybe he's struggling to just do A. So that has taken him down into that. And take the populations of people that have that income level that will fall into that. That's where the World Bank is coming from. That's where the predictions is coming from. So we look at it from that point of view. But the question is what can the government do to cushion this? What is the way out? Or do we have a window out of it? If we do, how are we going to revolve around it? Yes, we do have a window. Recall on this same studio, I talked about when we had that discussion about the PMS subsidy.
Yeah, on Newsnight.
I said, yes, it's good to remove it. I stand by it and I believe in it. Because if you want to subsidize an item, then we can easily subsidize transportation. And I did the analysis why when we subsidize transportation, it will reduce the burden from the masses. You don't go continue doing this. But now that we have this thing done, I will expect the government to come up with a policy. Okay, at this point, how do we subsidize transportation? Because these consumable goods, the commodity that comes from the village market, are being transported. And this transport has increased by 200%. And this 200% in transportation have increased. It's been transferred to the goods that is being consumed. So there's a multiplier effect that must be checked. But if you hit that at that point where you subsidize the transport, it becomes easier to manage. Some people are busy campaigning. We should have money sent to individuals' account and all that kind of system. Hey. If you don't get that structure properly, you will open up another window for corruption, because fictitious name, non-existent name, even people that don't belong to that group will fill the list. Because how do you generate this list? It is the elites that will generate this list. You ask honorable members to bring lists, you ask senators to bring lists, you ask governors to bring lists. They will write every members of their families, all of them. And these are people that they are not affected by this as compared to the other group that we want to help.
Let me come back to palliatives. You said one of the key places to look into will be transportation. But again, as it is it rather late for the government to do that? Because as it is now, almost every commodity and services have been so affected by the removal of subsidy. Is it the taxi hailing business? Is it the dispatch business? Is it the average commodity that Nigerians go for? Everything. So if this ultimately comes into the transportation sector, knowing full well that it's so difficult in the country for you to see services or goods that has gone up going down. So how optimistic are you? Should the government subsidize transportation? Are we likely to see a downward trend of all those commodities and services that have been hiked?
See, Suleiman, I say it without any reservation. Outside God, the only other thing I believe is data. Today, we have a very broad level of transportation economy that are not captured in our tax system, that are not captured in any record. We don't have a record of our transportation. We cannot say there's a transportation database that we have. If we take today and say we are picking those that do the regular dispatching, we don't have a database for that. But when you be able to capture them, you create a portal. If you're doing this business, let's have you registered. Let's have a central portal. So that if we want to subsidize you, we can meet you at that point. If you're running public transportation, you have vehicles that move from point A to point B. Let's capture you. And once we capture that, you now begin to see how you can subsidize this. It is not just by sitting in one place and blap and blap and blap. No. But one good thing I tell people is that when you create this transportation database, you have also increased the tax base of the nation. Because these people earn income, we have no record, they are not taxable, and we are busy crying that we have no... See, anything the government should be thinking is, how do we increase our revenue base?
You heard it somewhere, which may ultimately take us back, because I asked the country director of the World Bank how they arrived at data, knowing full well that data is still a problem in Nigeria. And now you're pointing fingers at data, which is very key. So how sure are we that this data released by the World Bank in conjunction with the NBS is something that is a true reflection of what it is?
Okay, now it's easy for you to arrive at that number. I don't have the basis how to arrive at those figures, but I can give you a simple projection. If I say 30,000 naira, what it used to be in the month of May is no longer what it is in this month of May. And I can give you a statistics of the number of people that earn 30,000 and above or below. And I say anybody that used to earn 30,000, based on market value, your 30,000 has moved below that, so you have moved into that poverty level. Automatically, I can draw that data. But there's one thing that I always tell World Bank when they draw their statistics, they don't pay attention to. We have certain level of economy in Africa and Nigeria that the World Bank can never capture it. Clearly, they can never capture it. I'll give you an example for you to understand this. Here we're in Transcorp. There's somebody that is operating the lifts at the Transcorp there, who allowed those going to the various floors and give you key. People, Take that man that is there, that his salary is 30,000 naira, the minimum wage. But on that lift, you'll be guaranteed that from morning till night, people that would give him tips of 500 naira, 1,000 naira, at the end, he's going home at the end of every day with 5,000 naira. Multiply it by 20 days he works. Let's assume that. That income can never be captured. But you can never see that type of income in a developed nation. So it's like when they say everybody in Nigeria, they live below $1 bill. Like that. My grandmother in the village does not live below $1 because he can get his pepper from his backyard, he gets his garri from his farm and his own income. There are certain economic indices of survival in Africa, in Nigeria. This is the only place where people have no job for 1 year and there's no government welfare to cater for them. But they live for community welfare and they survive and pay children's school fees. That economy has not been captured. We have no 401k the way you have it in America that guarantees your retirement to be like this. Your 401k is the quality of life you give to your children and the people you support in the community.
So in other words,
isn't
that, you call it economic indices, but isn't that indicative of the lapse and why the government would not work towards giving the country a social security for its citizen? It's social welfare.
Okay, clearly, if you want to give a social welfare also give you room for documentation. It also give you room to grow a database. Yeah. And that database give you more information for planning. If I say today, I want to give a palliative, let me use the word palliative, but though I don't like it, I want to give a palliative. And I say, for you to benefit from this palliative, you must have your NII number there. Be rest assured, within 10 days, you get over 50 million people that will go and register for that. You have captured those people into the system. And then you begin to grow on that. Social security that we see in the American system, social security number we see in America, they did not come overnight. You grow on it, you subject that data to data mining.
Is it too late for Nigerians to work on this?
It's not late.
And the national planning here is also key. Let's see if we can close on this. The last time Nigeria had an active national planning was during the time of Shamsuddin Usman. Since then, national planning has just been national planning.
Clearly, we used to have National Planning Commission. I don't know whether they still exist. If there exists, I don't know who is the executive secretaries and all that. So I wouldn't tell what they do and all that. And I'm privileged to have even worked with national planning. The NIMS document, the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan, I was one of the consultants that developed that document with national planning. And so you can tell when they work and how we used to. And I'll use that document as an example that if there's any other institution that we need to empower so much in this country, is national planning. It should be more of a priority than the central bank. Because if we have that National Planning Commission very strong and very solidified, any president that comes and you enter there as a president, they give you the plan of the nation. This is where we stop in education. This is where we stop in railway construction. You continue from there. You don't just come and impose this. This is my agenda. This is what I want to do. But go to a country like China. That is what they do. There's a national plan. You come in, you continue from where the next person stops. That's where you begin to see a 30 years plan. But here, a president emerges. It's okay. We set this aside. We're doing this. It just doesn't work. So we must find a way to straighten that institution if we must.
It's a fine place for us to leave it. Dr. Onuoha Nnachi, many thanks as always.
Thank you.